Hello everyone, and what I want to show you today is how to condition roses. We get a lot of questions here about how to condition roses and how to prolong the life of them. So what I have here in front of me, this is a bunch of roses that we had to deliver to last night. So our flower delivery came in from Holland last night. But this will also help people that are maybe just buying their roses locally in their local flower shop, or maybe florists that are buying them wholesale themselves. So this particular bunch is the Naomi rose. So they are a fantastic rose. And normally when roses get delivered, they normally come with this cellophane wrapped around the outside. Now sometimes they come in corrugated cardboard, and I also have seen them with brown paper wrapped around them. But if they come in plastic, I would recommend removing the plastic from the flowers. The reason why you remove the plastic is the plastic is inclined to sweat the flowers and it can make them go off. Normally, or not normally, being honest, all flowers give off a gas called ethylene gas. And ethylene gas is a ripening gas or a maturing gas. And basically the flowers are releasing this gas all the time. So when you have the plastic wrapped around the flowers, the gas can't escape and it basically reacts on itself, and it makes the stems ripen faster or the flowers mature faster. And obviously we don't want that. So we're trying to prolong the life of the flowers and make them last as long as possible. So first thing you do, get a nice sharp scissors and remove the plastic from your flowers. So this is our bunch of roses. Now these roses are about 70 centimetres long, and probably at home maybe you're buying much shorter length roses, but still do the exact same treatment. So when you get your roses, there's normally leaf all the way down the stem. Now if you put them straight into water, what will happen is some of your leaf is going to be under the water line, and that's what will make the water pollute or set the water off, and then you have your flowers drinking dirty water. So what you need to do is remove the foliage below the water line. So depending on the height of your roses, like you might decide to cut these roses much shorter, or depending on the height of your vase, if you find that your water in your vase is going to come up to approximately here, or approximately here, you're going to remove the leaf below my hand. Normally at the end of every bunch there's an elastic band, and I'm just snipping the elastic band. So that's just holding them together. So when I take out one of these roses, and if you were to look like closely, you mightn't see it now on the video, but there's some nice sharp thorns coming down this stem, right? So for me to remove the leaf, I'd have to be really careful and go in there individually and remove each leaf. But there is a little gadget that you can buy that makes life much easier. So what it's called is a foliage stripper or a stem stripper. And you can buy these in your local flower shop, or anybody that's in the trade, you can buy them from your local wholesalers. If you're buying them wholesale, you normally have to buy them in bulk. Now this particular one is produced by a company called Oasis, but there is another company in the flower business called Chrysal, and they do one as well. Their one is normally blue and the Oasis brand is normally yellow. So when you remove them from the packet, this is what they look like, right? It's really flexible and nice and soft. Personally, I prefer the yellow one, the Oasis brand one, because I find it's more pliable. But maybe if you were using the Chrysal one continuously, it'd probably soften up eventually. So how you hold it is you grip it in your hand here, you get your rose, you decide like where do you want to remove the foliage from. So we just say from here. You grip your stem stripper with your hand around the stem, firmly but gently, okay? So it is cut around it, but there's a little bit of a space. And what you do then is you kind of like slightly up and down, see, like this, all the way down to the end of the stem. And normally, I missed one of them there, it just removes all of the foliage. So I'll do a couple of them here just to give you an idea. So again, you take up your rose. If you want to remove the foliage from here, you just grip it around the stem. There's no right or wrong sided, it's double sided. So if you're left hand, it means you can use it in your left hand. I'm right handed here, and it's really easy for both parties to use. So up and down the stem, and as you can see, it removes all the foliage. There might be an odd one, right, as you can see there. I have to go back. It's obviously out to prove me wrong that yes, it does miss an odd one. But it's really successful, and you get really fast on it. Now to be honest, it works on all flowers. It's not just the roses, but I find it is great for the roses because of the thorns. It just makes life so much more comfortable and so much easier to remove all the foliage. Now what it has also done, remember them thorns that I showed you, and they were really sharp, they were really spiky. Well, by using your stem stripper, it removes now I won't say it removes the thorns, it doesn't actually take the thorn off, but it does take that real sharp point off the top of your thorn. So again, it's just not as dangerous then when you're working with them for these sharp. That's why I sometimes like to kind of turn the stem in your hand as you go around and just to take off the tips of the thorns. So you can see most of them thorns now are kind of blunt. So I'm just sliding my hand up and down it, but there's no way I would do that to the other ones because they're too thorny. So you do that to all your roses. So it means then when you take them up and just get rid of the rubbish, anybody that's been here at the school, you know I'm a big lover of sweeping things onto the floor. You obviously shouldn't do that, right? So you get your roses and you can see there where the foliage has been removed. But as I said, you have to decide where you want to remove it from because it depends on where the water is going to be. So if I was leaving these roses approximately this height, they're about 70 centimetres, like the water would just come up to about here. So next thing then is treating or conditioning the roses. So when the roses are picked, kind of imagine, first of all it's a machine that picks them in Holland, right? But imagine somebody went out and they picked the roses. And what happens is the flower actually goes into shock. So it's like if I gave you an unmerciful punch in the stomach, you know that I just gave you a good dig in the stomach, you're going to go and you're going to take in air. Well, that's exactly what happens to the roses. So when the roses are cut, whether it's a machine or it's by a human, right, the roses go into shock. And the first inch at the end of all the stems is a pocket of air. And what we have to do is we have to try and get rid of that pocket of air, otherwise the water can't get up the stem. The second thing that happens to the roses is they bleed. Now when I say bleed, it's not obviously blood, but it's a sap. It's like the rose sap comes out of the bottom of the stems. So normally when you go into a florist to buy your roses, because they would have previously been conditioned, when you look at the end of the stem, you'll see it's kind of like a bright green colour, creamy green colour. But if the roses haven't been conditioned, they could be maybe a dark brown, kind of like dark green sort of shade. And that's just where they're actually sealed up. Because what has happened is when the flower bleeds, it bleeds for a couple of seconds, half a minute or so, and then it starts to dry up. And when it dries up, it forms or creates a little crust. And this little crust is at the end of each stem. And what it's doing is it's sealing in the moisture, and that's what the flower lives off during transportation while the flower gets delivered from Holland all the way to Ireland. So what you need to do is remove, first of all that inch at the bottom that's full of air, and you also need to remove that seal at the bottom that has dried up. So the handiest way to do this is, I'm just going to turn this upside down so you can see what I'm doing. It's cut at least an inch. Now you can cut a lot more. If you want these roses shorter, you can cut, as many inches or centimetres as you choose to do, but a minimum of an inch. And when you're cutting your flower, you cut it on a slant. I'm doing this individually so you can see the way I'm cutting the stems. So each rose, you're going to cut at least an inch. You can see I'm cutting a little bit more than an inch, but you're cutting on a slant. And when you cut on a slant, you get a nice sharp point at the end of the stem. And also what has happened is I've opened up a larger hole at the bottom of the stem to drink water than if I cut straight across. So it means now when I place these in water, they just have a larger section there to suck up water, and the water gets up the stem faster. But there's a couple of things we can do to encourage the water to get up the stem. So the first thing that we'll mention is this stuff here, which is called quick dip. Some people call it magic dip because it is like magic. And I've often seen some of the florists, they call it the Viagra, because it does what it says on the tin. It makes your flowers stand up straight. So what you're going to do, again, you'd only be able to buy this either from a local florist or probably from your flower wholesalers. So this particular one is an Oasis brand, but Chrysal obviously do it as well. Actually, I think this is the Chrysal brand, sorry Oasis. So when you get your quick dip, what you do is you put approximately 6 centimetres into the end of a small container. Use a small container because the larger your container, the more of it you're going to use. You know what I mean? And it's not reusable. The idea is that you throw it out, okay? Because once we use this, it's polluted. So just to get as long as possible out of the quick dip, use a smaller container. Now I personally use a paper cup, a paper disposable cup here at the school. So we have our small cup and we put about 6 centimetres into the end of the little paper cup. And then what we do is we dip the end of the stem, now only 3 centimetres of it, okay? So you dip the end of the stem into the quick dip for 1 second. So it's literally in and back out again, and that's where it gets its name, quick dip. And what this quick dip does, or what this chemical does, it hydrates the stem, and it basically gets the water up the stem as fast as possible. So rather than depending on the flower to suck the water all the way up the stem, this just really speeds the process up. So now your flowers are ready to be placed in water. Now your water or your container or your vase that you're going to use to display your flowers or store your flowers, that should all have been sterilised. On one of our previous videos or previous instruction videos, I would have explained and demonstrated how to sterilise buckets and containers. If you missed that one, maybe just go to our website and just look up the blogs, okay? Our website is floristschoolisland.com, and the buttons along the top, you'll see one of the buttons is called blogs. And if you just go into the drop down menu, you will see the demonstration video, how to sterilise your buckets and vases. And as I said, this all helps to prolong the life of the flowers. So I'm presuming you have sterilised your vase and your container that you're going to use, and now you fill it up with water. And again, it's up to you how much water you want to put into your vase. Now the next step I would recommend is using some flower food. Now I wouldn't recommend any particular flower food because in my personal opinion, I actually think they're all quite good. Now, I'm not going to say how much flower food to put in because it depends on the quantity of water that you're going to use. And on the backs of all the packets, it'll tell you roughly on average, this will do one vase and 2 of them will do a half bucket of water. But just double check yourself by reading the packets because they're all different. Now, I just have a small vase of water here beside me because people often ask about this. Just literally snip the plastic off. It's just like sugar. And there you go. Just put it into it and it'll just dissolve itself. The water was icy cold. Sometimes, like I would do in the water, maybe just put a little bit of hot water into it, just a small amount, just to take that chill out of it, and it dissolves better. Now, what your flower food will do, as well as prolonging the life of your flowers, because it is a preservative, and it does help to make your flowers last longer. It also keeps your water sterile, and it also stops that slime building up on the inside of your vase or your water going green. So I would definitely recommend it. When you go to a local flower shop to buy a bunch of roses or a bunch of any flowers, to be honest, you'll normally get a little sachet sellotaped to the outside of the packet. Or if you go into any flower shop, it's possible to purchase some flower food. If anybody like this just finds that they can't maybe locate a florist to buy flower food or to buy one of these stem strippers, just drop us a line here at the school. Our email address is info@floristschoolisland.com. I hope you enjoyed that. If you do have any questions or if there's anything you don't understand, you're more than welcome to email me at the email address I just quoted, or you can give us a ring here at the school. Our number, we're in Ireland, and our Dublin number is 01 45 38 649. Thank you for watching.
Okay.